Coming up on Tech News today, Apple has a new announcement, MIT has a clever solution to the spectrum crunch, maybe, and a crowdsourced constitution. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, October 23rd, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by American Express Bank FSB, offering a high-yield savings account, the perfect complement to help you reach your savings goals. To learn more and open an account online, visit personalsavings.com/online savings, member FDIC. Tech News Today is brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces by Citrix, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate with colleagues and clients from anywhere. You can share the same screen and see each other face-to-face with HD video conferencing, even from an iPad. Sign up for your 30-day free trial today. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use promo code TNT. And by Gazelle, the fast and simple way to sell your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, or Android smartphones. Find out what your gadget is worth and get cash to upgrade to the latest iPhone at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt, and I lost a bet.
I'm Sarah Lane, and I won the pennant.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar. I have no stake in this.
And I'm Jason Howell.
This is the show where we keep you up to date on the most important stories in the world of tech news, starting with the top 10 stories of the day in the news spheres. All right. Apple announced new iPads, the iPad mini with a 7.9-inch display, and a new Retina iPad with an A6X processor and the new Lightning connector. Apple also unveiled a 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina, a new thinner iMac, new Mac minis, and upgraded iBook Reader software. The new iPads will be available for pre-order Friday, and Wi-Fi versions ship November 2nd.
Microsoft has announced it'll offer a 250-gigabyte Xbox 360 for $99 or $149 with Connect when you sign up for an Xbox Live Gold account for 2 years at $14.99 per month. The two models will join the original 4-gigabyte with Connect option, which will stay firm at $99. You might remember that this pilot program started back in July, and the offer was available just in 16 official Microsoft stores. Now, a holding page invites users to check back later to see a full list of participating retailers. Might be a little bit of a holiday season surprise.
Remember that rubber banding patent Apple had, and you scroll down and the screen kind of bounces back? Well, Foss Patents noticed that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has tentatively invalidated all 20 claims included in that Apple rubber banding patent. The tentative nature of the invalidation means that the PTO's decision is not final. Apple claimed that Samsung had infringed on that patent, and it was included in Apple's big victory against Samsung earlier this year. Samsung has filed a motion with Judge Lucy Koh.
Yahoo announced earnings essentially in line with expectations, operating income of $177 million in their third straight quarter of revenue growth. Marissa Mayer's first full quarter as CEO, and she spoke in the earnings call about changing Yahoo to a focused, coherent mobile strategy.
Remember yesterday's news that Samsung was going to pull out of LCD manufacturing?
That's yesterday's news.
For Apple devices by next year. It actually was yesterday's news.
I remember like it was yesterday.
Specifically,
literally.
It was. Oh. Yes, that's why they say yesterday's news. Samsung tells CNET that story, which was first reported by the Korea Times and cited a senior industry official, that the story is 100% false. A spokesman says Samsung Display has never tried to cut the supply for LCD patents to Apple, adding that Samsung was asking the Korea Times to revise its story.
Microsoft's new Office web apps are officially integrated into SkyDrive. The apps have been available since July as a preview, but were finalized yesterday. In more Office news, Microsoft unveiled pricing for Office 365 University. Schools can pay $1.67 per month or $80 over 4 years. Office 365 will include Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Access, and Publisher. The suite will be available in Q1 of 2013.
Nokia announced the Lumia 510 with a 4-inch display running Windows 7.5 and selling in 4 colors. It will come to Asia Pacific and South American markets next month, starting with China and India. These markets are critical for Nokia to regain its momentum. The Lumia 510 will sell at an unsubsidized price of $199 US.
The FTC has released a set of guidelines for companies building facial recognition technology. Organizations should design their services with consumer privacy in mind, says the FTC. They should develop reasonable security protections for the information that they collect, sound methods for determining whether to keep information, whether to get rid of it. However, J. Thomas Roach, which was one of the 5 commissioners, says there's nothing to establish that this misconduct has occurred or even that it's likely to occur in the near future. It's at least premature for anyone, much less the commission, to suggest to businesses that they should adopt as best practices safeguards that may be costly and inefficient against misconduct that may never occur.
The U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency may be best known these days to geeks for seizing domain names. However, the agency just dealt a blow to RIM, announcing it will end its contract for BlackBerries in favor of the iPhone. The agency intends to buy iPhones for more than 17,600 employees because RIM, quote, can no longer meet the mobile technology needs of the agency.
Ouch. Yesterday, people were freaking out because there was an Amazon Web Services outage. The service interruption affected Imgur and Reddit, causing many of us to wonder where we're going to get our cat pictures now. On the technical side, Amazon's Elastic Block Store went down. That's a part of Amazon's Elastic Compute Cloud, which is something lots of sites use to handle bandwidth demands.
This episode of Tech News Today brought to you by American Express Savings Bank, FSB, a member FDIC. Think about how you're saving. Hopefully you're becoming disciplined about putting away a portion of what you earn on a regular basis. Some of us keep a portion of what we earn in the bank. Some of us keep it for a down payment for a home or a car. And hopefully you're able to set aside some funds for an unexpected emergency, just a little safety fund. Whatever your goals for saving are, a good place to put it is an American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account. Gives you competitive variable interest rates to help you reach your savings goals. You can easily link this account to your existing accounts without having to switch banks. If you're saying, look, I like that interest rate, but I don't really want to change banks, you don't have to. You can transfer money easily depending on your needs. Keep track of your balance by phone or web 24/7. And there's no minimums and no fees. Includes great phone support whenever you want to talk to someone. It's a great complement to your existing financial tools. You just add the American Express Personal Savings High Yield Savings Account, the FDI insured account offered by American Express Bank FSB for your savings needs. And you don't have to pay anything. You just go open one up at American Express Personal Savings, and they think they'll help you reach your savings goals by opening that high-yield savings account. Use it for whatever you want. High-yield savings account at personalsavings.com/online savings. Member FDIC. We thank American Express Bank FSB for their support of Tech News Today. Okay, through the magic of time travel, we're actually going to go to the Apple announcement now, where Leo Laporte joins us, and we tell you what Apple announced.
All right, Tim Cook leaving the stage, and boy, this was a big announcement. In fact, arguably a much bigger announcement than last month's big announcement from Apple. Certainly more new products from Apple. The biggest surprise, the 3rd generation iPad is no longer available. They've replaced it with a 4th generation iPad that not only adds a Lightning connector, but also an A6X processor that he claimed to be twice as fast. Same pricing. So you won't be able to buy your 3rd generation
A6X
iPad
is
anymore.
not something that we've seen before, correct?
No,
Right.
A6
is in the iPhone 5. That was the current model.
And the X is usually because they have extra graphics processors to handle that giant screen. That's what was in the iPad as well. The A5X at some point.
Iyaz, you bought your iPad 3rd gen, not right when it was available. It was a little bit later on in the year, and you're feeling burned.
I bought it on pre-order day. Like I ordered on that same day.
So you're not burned.
Oh, no, I am burned.
You know who's burned
I don't feel
me?
that
I just
burned.
gave my mom an iPad 3rd
Well,
generation.
this
It's
is
a
actually
gift. And,
Those are
She
collector's
won't know the
items
difference.
now.
oh, she's
Well, and
watching,
remember,
unfortunately.
the only difference is the A6X processor, which arguably is a difference maker, and the Lightning connector. So I don't feel the need to go rush out and buy this new iPad.
It's just faster.
Yeah,
it's just faster.
But
I wonder what the consumer, what average consumers are going to think. I think that might be a sticking point. The other, I think, important note is the cost on the iPad Mini. The Mini will be a little bit more powerful than perhaps that we thought. 7.9 inches, not 7.85 inches. No 8 gigabyte version, as the rumor mill predicted. It's 16 gigabytes for $329. They did get the price right. 32 gigs for $399. 64 gigs for $499. You'll be able to pre-order a Wi-Fi iPad Mini, actually all of them, on Friday. But your Wi-Fi iPad Mini won't come till November 2nd, and it's November 16th for an LTE-based iPad Mini. It is the Mini.
It's the iPad
you
Mini.
nailed it, Sarah Lane. I'm
well,
surprised.
I mean, I think it was because we'd heard about it for so long that that's all I could think of in my head.
Right.
Anything else just sounded weird at this point.
Well, and it is a little confusing now because they are selling how many models of iPads? They have the Mini, the iPad 2 they're still selling. They no longer sell the 3rd generation iPad. They now sell the 4th generation iPad. So there are 3 models of iPad available. I think perhaps they did need, in fact, to give this one a name.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
Well, they called it the iPad Retina when they put it up on the slide. It was the iPad 2, the iPad Mini, and the iPad with Retina display.
Okay.
Okay.
So there you go. Now that maybe is a little bit clarifying. Again, we understand that. You at home understand that because you're hardcore committed technology fans. It's really whether the market, the consumer who wanders into an Apple store will understand.
When they wander in, they're going to say, I want the iPad, and they're going to point to the Retina display. Here you go.
Right.
Is you have one that's cheaper? Well, we have a smaller one and a cheaper one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're right. That's kind of what they've done with the iPhone as well, right?
Am I the only one who's disappointed about no Retina on iPad Mini? I mean, should I not care as much because it's actually a smaller package overall?
It's a pretty low-res display. The iPad Mini at 1024 by 768, 7.9 inches is 162 pixels an inch. That is, kind of old-fashioned.
Yeah, if you're using, they were hammering home reading email, browsing the web, iBooks. I mean, that's all stuff where you are concentrating on small characters for a long time. You want it to be the best quality possible.
I'm not disappointed so much. I was expecting this for the price point because a Retina display at that size would probably bump the price somewhere $399, $499, and that's like the full-size iPad class. And I think Apple wants to make sure that they can get in to that lower price point. $329 for 16 gigabytes isn't too bad, but that's that the trade-off was that display. It
is $80 more than the comparable 16 gigabyte Nexus 7. It is $130 more than the Fire HD. Is that? I think that seems a reasonable premium for an Apple product.
The rumor is that Google's going to drop the price of the Nexus 7 come this Monday, October 29th, and you'll be able to get a $99 entry price version. So if that's the case, then all of a sudden this looks a lot more expensive in comparison.
Yeah.
Well, Tim Cook made a big point of talking about how many apps are available for iPad, 275,000. And as much as you want to compare prices on tablets, if you don't have the applications and it's just big phone apps, well, what do you have? You just have a big phone. So you might as well go with the phone. So this is their big hook, right? It's just we have apps.
You want to hear something really cold?
I'd love to.
During this Apple announcement, Zynga laid off 100 employees.
That was very smart.
Was it?
Because nobody was noticing.
Nobody was paying any attention. There's
well,
Veronica Belmont.
I was.
Veronica Belmont. How are you? She's come in to order her iPad Mini. Nice. Nexus 7 is 216 pixels per inch. I think that somebody in the chat room mentioned, and I think this is probably right, that they're saving a Retina Mini for next year. They need something to do.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Retina Mini.
If Retina is important to you, I would say wait.
If that's something you can get in March, yeah.
I would say wait.
Would you really?
Yeah.
You really want to buy
Pricing
this for a loved one for Christmas?
Pricing is also complicated by the iPod Touch, which really is, in many ways, iPad, right? So
it's a small iPad.
It's a smaller, it more in the continuity of an iPad than it is on the continuity of an iPhone.
Sure.
So, but the pricing is not linear.
Right, but the other thing is the iPad Mini comes with a data connection option, which you can never get on an iPod Touch.
Right.
So just seeing that price at $329, then you're like, oh, I can get one with cellular, and then you end up paying
for
a little
another
extra, $130. It's that little gateway price, you know?
Yeah. Well, and as I've pointed out before, the only number that anybody pays attention to is that entry-level price, even though that may not be the device they end up buying, but people always look at that as the price, right? Starting at $329. It's a very, I tell you what's interesting, because we've got a Google announcement on Monday. And I think, again, this is credit to the chat room. I wish I had the name. But what we're going to see in the next decade is a very intense competition between Apple and Google. The battle lines have very clearly been drawn.
With Microsoft jumping up and down, trying to get into the... Please fight me, too. I want in on it.
We get our Surface RTs on Friday. At least I do. And so that's... I don't know. Is RT even in that playing field?
Sure.
It doesn't seem... It seems more of a serious device, perhaps, than the Mini or the Nexus 7.
The Windows 8 tablets are more of a serious device. I think the RT...
Where does RT fit in?
I mean, they're definitely pitching it as this is a fun device. You see those commercials that Microsoft is playing. It's like click, 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 tap, tap, tap.
They're really iPad-style commercials.
They very much are, yeah.
Apple Store is still Oh, no, it's reopened, and you can now shop for your iPad mini. So let me just quickly order that. Why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves? Oh,
He's got a time machine.
Darn it.
Time machine.
Gosh darn it. They have put the keynote and the Johnny Ive Heavenly Room video up already on the website. They're calling it, and this is important to look at the language that they use to describe this, every inch an iPad, emphasizing both size and the fact that this is an iPad, not a phone or a touch. Full iPad experience, but less of it. See, again,
there's less of it,
but less of it, but no less to it.
Ooh, nice prepositional work.
I do like the fact that it has cameras on both sides. I think that's something they could have left out, and it makes it, in fact, really much more of an iPad.
And there's no camera on the Nexus 7.
That's right. There's a front-facing only.
There's no rear-facing.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
He didn't actually point that out, did he? That was an opportunity missed. 275,000 apps, as you said, was a big distinguishing point. There are, of course, tablet apps for Android, but they're an order of magnitude fewer, and that's a significant difference, I think. They're doing the MIMO Wi-Fi. Prices as expected. You know, it's too bad that this was telegraphed, because what would your reaction be if we hadn't heard that for the last week, that it was going to be $329? Does that feel high
Actually,
or low?
I heard $250. I heard $299. Okay. $329 was the highest rumor I heard, so this sounded expensive to me because what was telegraphed was all over the place.
I was like, they're going to surprise everybody and go $249.
Right. Would that have made a difference? I think the people who buy Apple gear expect to pay a premium.
No,
it's not a significant premium.
It doesn't shock. It
does not
it's
shock.
Expected. They didn't surprise you with the like, oh my gosh, that's so cheap.
We've even argued, certainly on TNT, that if Apple goes too low, then all of a sudden there's a little bit of a psychological, well, why? Why can't they get more for it? Is there something missing?
Well, the thing is, we've seen what the base cost or something like this could be with Amazon, right? They're selling things at cost. And so if Apple wants to make a profit on every piece of hardware it sells, that's what they want to do. The $329 price actually sounded about right because Amazon's pricing was so low. So just add another $100 on each product, pretty close.
Now, they also introduced a new iBooks app with continuous scrolling and a whisper sync-like function. They introduced, as expected, a 13-inch MacBook Pro with a Retina display. But at the time when they announced new iMacs, we were all stunned because that was the one thing that didn't leak after the iPad mini announcement and the surprise announcement of an upgrade to the iPad. Still stunned? Still excited about that?
I'm very excited.
Very small bezel?
I think that you probably could say that most of the world doesn't care about desktop computing anymore, and so from Apple's point of view, the iPad and the new Retina MacBook Pro are probably much more important, certainly to the bottom line. But as somebody who uses desktops, and I know a lot of our audience still uses desktops, I think this is pretty exciting. This is what I would have thought an Apple TV might have looked like. Ultra thin, 5mm thin edge. The new display is much like the iPads, where the screen, or the iPhone 5, I should say, where the screen is glued to the LCD crystals, which means that you don't have internal reflection. They claim 75% reduction in reflection. I think the iPhone 5 gives you really a very good-looking display. I think this is, and you can pre-order those iMacs today, but they will not be available in the store for delivery until November, and the 27-inch not till December.
Well, that's the thing. 21.5-inch, 27-inch. If they had a 32-inch, that's a television.
Yeah, they're very close at this point.
They just need to,
and that may be next
provide
year.
a slightly bigger screen.
Pricing the same, which is good. I mean, the iMac pricing is pretty locked in stone at this point, and they've got a very good range. It's still a premium, several $100s, not a lot, not double, but several $100s more. The Dell XPS 1 that we looked at was actually about $100 less, and didn't offer a whole lot more.
And this continues to drop all kinds of optical drives. So there's no optical drive in the Mini. There's none in the new iMac. There's none in the MacBook Pros with Retina at this point. The only thing left, I think, is the Mac Pro that has an optical, and I think the the actual MacBook Pro without Retina still.
It's interesting they're offering a hybrid drive, and we're still not clear what that means. In fact, maybe they'll explain it here in the specs if I look at the new Minis, because the hybrid drive is it 2 drives or a single drive with solid state? I
believe it's 2 drives, but I haven't gotten actual confirmation on
storage. You can choose this Fusion drive. By the way, is a build to order. It is not standard. The standard is a terabyte, 5,400 RPM hard drive. That's in the 21-inch. In the 27, it's a standard 7,200 RPM terabyte. but you can configure it to a Fusion drive, which gives you, what did he say, 256 gigs of solid-state storage in addition? No.
That was 128.
128 gig of flash with 1 or 3 terabyte.
I'm not sure what they're doing.
Hard drive.
And, you know, unless we can find that picture of the insides.
Either way, it appears as one logical drive in OS 10. You're not going to see a difference.
Boy, it is a beautiful-looking display, though, and I have to say that's impressive. They shoot it, though, at an angle that does hide the bulge in the back. Yeah. It's not
perfectly flat all the way across in the back,
but just it's very much.
But that's good design,
yeah.
Right? It just means it's probably going to take up the same amount of space on your actual desktop, but it's going to look cooler,
right? See if we can see.
You guys were blown away by the 13-inch MacBook Pro Retina. I was sort of, because I was expecting it partly, but also it's like, well, this is the 15-inch. It's just 13-inch, and that's cool.
Yeah,
but there's nothing else
I'm
different
excited about it. I wasn't blown away by anything.
It's a smart addition to their product line. It's exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing new. One thing we could deduce from it is Apple is deprecating optical drives across the board, including on the iMac.
We're living in the past if we want one, in fact.
They offer one.
Living in the past. We offer one if you're living in the past.
Stuff.
Which is kind of telling.
I don't think you're going to see
Blu-ray at any point.
No Blu-ray. No Blu-ray.
Sorry to say.
Never happening. Sorry, Blu-ray.
But you know, here's, by the way, this is the picture of the iMac bulge, and you can see it's actually kind of significant. It's considerable. But they have to do that. They've got to put the electronics somewhere on this thing.
Or do they? Just don't even bother.
Somewhere.
It's just a piece of
They're
glass.
not quite there yet. Yeah.
Price
think
per
it's
share
beautiful.
of Apple has dropped to $624, but that's
selling
expected.
the rumor or selling the news.
Yeah.
Buying a rumor.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very nice looking. You still need basically the same footprint, though, if you put it on anything.
Because of the stand.
There's always that perceived obsolescence, because when somebody sees your iMac with the optical, someone will go, ha ha.
That's really the most important
point,
isn't it?
Look at your fat-looking desktop.
It's the fins.
It's simple things.
It's the Detroit model year update.
Yeah, I mean, people do that with TVs, for sure. You know,
Like
you
you
stand
really-
at the side and go, "Ooh, look
That's
how
how you watch
thin
TV,
that
right?
is."
I always watch TV like.
Right, yeah.
Apple's
That's
also,
how you stand and watch your favorite show.
I think for people who are in the market for a Mac Mini will be very impressed with the updates on the Mac Mini. They've really made this thing powerful and still very affordable. Pricing is, I believe, the same.
And selling a server edition, saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not abandoning you, server people. Even though we've phased out our servers, we're just turning the Mini into that line."
They've done that for a couple of years now. But I think the server edition, it turns out there's a market. There's Mac Mini colos. There's a big market. Yeah. In fact, we use Mac Minis in the basement as servers. So they make a very compact server machine. And now the problem with the Mini, and I should point this out, is it does not offer a separate GPU. It's using the Intel HD graphics. So it is not really a suitable replacement for a desktop for most people. And I think that they're really seeing this in really kind of specialized markets like home theater PCs and servers.
The Mini still user serviceable, still has that panel on the bottom, so they didn't seal that up yet.
Yeah.
That's like one of the last few ones. Is the Mac Mini and I think the Mac Pro.
Because it's the last computer Mac Apple's still selling with 4 gigs memory standard. They've gone to 8 gigs now across almost the entire product line, which is very interesting. I don't know if you really need 8 gigs on OS 10, but it's certainly, why not? RAM is cheap these days. And they are Sandy Bridge with every one of their desktops now, Ivy Bridge, except for the Mac Pro. And they have kind of a telling, and I wonder if they did this on purpose, computer comparison chart. In which the Mac Pro is on there. Let me compare Mac models. It's a button on the top now, and when you do compare the Macs and you see the hardware and specifications of the Mac Pro, it frankly is starting to look pretty antiquated and pretty pricey. So,
well, they're going to get the Mac Mini to the point where it doesn't make sense to get a Mac Pro anymore. The only difference being that graphics processor. And there's just, I don't know what the editing folks are going to do if they get rid of the Mac Pro. I can
tell you, Alex Lindsay right now is already going, oh man. But that's a specialized market again, and I don't I have a feeling that that's not going to be something that Apple's going to worry too much about. The base Mac Pro with a Xeon 3.2 gigahertz quad-core Xeon and 6 gigs of RAM is $2,500. So it's really a specialty product at this point. A single terabyte drive.
It's actually user serviceable. It's one of the last ones.
It's the one with last one with slots.
You can actually switch out graphics cards.
Yeah, last one with slots.
An odd idea. I think what editors are going to do is they're just going to I mean, once Final Cut landed, it was a big, telling moment of, okay, this is not for
Apple
us.
doesn't care. It's too small a market. They don't care.
Move
They're
to
going to
Premiere,
move to Windows.
Windows
They're going to move to
machines.
Windows. But for the home market and most importantly for Apple, for the mobile market, they've got a very compelling range of products.
Do you mind if I just take this discussion and put it in Tech News Today?
No, please do.
Okay, I'm going to magically send us into a time travel machine back to Tech News Today. So that's what happened earlier, or actually, wait, later, or it's so hard with time travel. Anyway, so there's the new announcement from the Apple iPad, whatever. Let's talk about Iceland.
Yes.
And their new crowdsourced constitution. We've mentioned this on the show before, that they were using a wiki, they were crowdsourcing their constitution. And what is the news regarding that now?
The news is that the general populace is helping draft Iceland's new constitution via social media. It's amazing. So here's what's going on. So Saturday, the country held a referendum that asked voters 6 questions about this particular draft. One of the questions was, should we use this as the basis for the new constitution? I mean, does everyone here feel like this is the right way to take what the general populace feels and put it in front of Parliament as that much more of a reason to pass certain things? 66% of the country said yes. It's very easy for them to participate, so got a pretty good turnout. Almost half of Iceland's 235,000 eligible voters took part in this referendum. Now, that's not a lot of people, but then again, this is Iceland, right? So it's
There's not a lot of people there.
Exactly. I mean, it's still a good turnout when you put it in perspective. So the backstory is that a couple years ago, Iceland's banking system collapsed. They had extremely bad times during the financial crisis. Country's government imploded. There was a lot wrapped up in finance and government. What came of that was the Modern Media Initiative, since been renamed to the International Modern Media Institute. This is sort of a WikiLeaks inspired free speech drive. So the idea that Iceland can be a haven for free speech. You can invite media organizations from around the world to host their sites in Iceland's data centers. Then and the country would have new protections for whistleblowers and that sort of thing. So makes Iceland a lot more attractive to organizations around the world. Then there's also this crowdsourcing part of it. So the old constitution of Iceland was based on Denmark's constitution, basically. It was out of date. A lot of people felt that way. So here's what happened. 25 citizens were brought into a constitutional council to help create a new constitution. The council took the ideas raised online by fellow citizens, so this is all the folks who ended up participating online, delivered the resulting draft back in July of last year. And at this point, it's not as if what everybody says on Facebook goes. It's a non-binding agreement. So Parliament still is going to decide all of this. But it's at the point now where the Constitution needs to be finalized before the next election. That's in the spring of next year. And everything's public now. So it's really in everyone in the country's best interest to participate because they know exactly what's going in front of Parliament because they chose it. This is not sort of how sometimes it's difficult, at least in the U.S., to know what is Congress talking about right now.
Right, and the bill is 100,000 pages long and buried deep somewhere, and nobody's ever read it.
And it's something that was introduced by maybe a congressperson in another state that doesn't have a whole lot to do with me, so I can find out all of that stuff, but it's not something that I specifically felt like I put in front of my lawmakers myself along with all of you. I think this is really exciting. It may not work for all countries the way that it works for Iceland, but it seems like it's got a lot of support there.
I love seeing the word crowdsourced. I'm like, isn't that just democracy? It's just democracy online, effectively, right? It's because we're using online tools to do what we should have been able to do.
Representative democracy.
Right.
Is crowdsourced means the like pure democracy.
Right. Well, I did say democracy. I didn't say representative. But this is the weird thing about this. Like, it's a really interesting experiment because it's like 320,000 people. That's the entire population of Iceland. Like, this kind of thing could probably...
320,060.
Probably 60. Thank you, Tom, for that correction.
Those 60 people felt really
I'm sorry,
left
60
out.
people in Iceland. I'm really sorry about that, to diminish you. But anyway, to see this kind of experiment, I'm really kind of curious if any states in the United States would try this. Because you have enough small places like, I used to live in Vermont. There's like 600,000 people there. And it had this kind of feel that you could have, when you talk to your representatives, they were really representing you. And by having this kind of transparency, to put things on Facebook and to have to explain something on Twitter, no less. If you can put something on Twitter and actually explain a law in 140 characters or have a link to one at least, that's very impressive as opposed to our standard system of we're going to put it in the Federal Register, which every one of us reads, right? Every time it comes out, we all read the Federal Register, see what's going on with the law changes, right? Of course. So it's the kind of like, oh yeah, our tools today can actually work with our laws, and maybe the country could be better off because, I don't know, their interests are being represented.
There's a difference between making something available and actually encouraging or creating an environment where people are interested in making themselves, making use of it, right? The Federal Register is published, but is it easy to get to? Is it online? Yeah, it's online. Do you go to it? Do you hear people talking about it? No. Iceland, crowdsourcing the Constitution, put this front and center. A, because it's the Constitution. It's not just a bill. It's the entire fundamentals of the government, so it's much more important. And they made a big deal out of it, and they got people excited about it, and they got people involved and interested. And so it's not just about the mechanics of, well, I put this online, why didn't anybody go to it? Everybody who's put a website up knows just putting something online doesn't mean people are going to go read it. You have to create the conditions that make people interested and want to go read it. And that was the big experiment here, was to see if people would engage in this. And granted, Iceland has a different political culture than other countries, but they did. It's pretty awesome. I like it.
Me too.
Let's take a quick break and thank our other sponsor for today's show, GoToMeeting. To be successful in business, you need to be able to meet regularly with your team. And whenever you need to meet at a time when everybody can make it, but not everybody's in the same place all the time. So if you have to add that on top of it, like, oh, everybody has to be in the meeting, has to be at the same time, and everybody has to be in the same place, nah, that doesn't work. You still need a way to discuss your plans, share your ideas, and bring them to life with your clients and colleagues when they're working from different offices, when they're working on the go. Meeting face-to-face is not often possible. That is, unless you use GoToMeeting with HD Faces, the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate with your team online. GoToMeeting with HD Faces gives your team the ability to share the same screen, making it easier to be all on the same page, literally. And when you meet face-to-face, you're more likely to see eye to eye. When we use GoToMeeting with HD Faces, you can see the expressions on people's face as you're talking. You get an idea of whether they're understanding what you're saying. You get an idea that they're just paying attention, that they're not distracted, that they're hearing what you say. Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. Don't wait. Use this special offer. Visit gotomeeting.com, GOTOMEETING.com. Click on the Try It Free button and use the promo code TNT. Be sure to use that promo code TNT. GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing. We thank GoToMeeting and Citrix for their support of Tech News Today. Facebook has an earnings call later today.
Yes.
And a lot of folks talking about what they need to do in the next quarter to make money.
Yeah, Josh Constein, who's sort of TechCrunch's resident Facebook expert, probably thinks about Facebook more than anyone else ever, except maybe people who work there. He's got a really good breakdown of the 5 ways that Facebook is going to turn things around as far as keeping revenue healthy, moving into mobile successfully, turning their stock price around as in raising us. He says, okay, there are 5 things that Facebook's doing, and it's not going to affect this earnings call today. He says this is going to be a couple quarters down the road before we actually see Facebook looking really, really healthy, but there are things that the company is putting into place now that will make it so. The first thing, Facebook Gifts. That's obviously one of their newest launches. They rolled it out both to the mobile and web interfaces. You see it right up at the top. Anytime anybody has a birthday now, I'm getting hassled to buy them something and ship them something. But this is U.S. only. And I have received one Facebook gift.
What'd you get?
Well, I got a candle.
Oh, it's very nice.
It was very nice. Yes, it was for my birthday, and okay, that's great. And
birthday
I think
candle.
What's that?
Birthday candle.
Birthday candle. Yeah, it's big birthday. It smells like wine. It's actually
nice.
kind of perfect. But but I've you see the more Facebook friends you have over in the upper right-hand corner, you're always seeing that it's somebody's birthday, and now Facebook's pushing me to buy all these people gifts, and it's like, I'm not going to do that for anybody, except maybe somebody I really, really like that I don't see that often, and I've, forgotten to send them flowers. So I'm still a little hesitant about how much revenue they're really going to get from Facebook gifts. We also don't know how much of a cut Facebook is taking from these transactions. They haven't made that public. The next one is their mobile ad network. That's Facebook sort of being the middleman for existing ad networks, because Facebook's data on us is richer than a mobile ad network because they pretty much know everything about what we're doing. The third is allowing developers to inject install now ads into the mobile news feed. If you haven't seen this before, this is you'll start seeing an app's name, description, App Center rating, who's using it, link to the App Store or Google Play Market. This is something that last week all developers now have the feature to do. So if I see some sort of app that shows up on my news feed, I've just got that one click. Yes, I will get that app as well.
I so don't trust that. And it's not because I don't trust Facebook. I have just learned over time never to click anything that says install now, to go directly to a store through a way that I know and trust so that I'm sure I'm not getting clickjacked. I don't know if most people have that problem, but that is my first thought when I see that is I will never use that because I will just want to be sure that that is actually a real install link.
Well, but you're not the only person who's going to feel that way. That's another. It's like how many people are. Well, I guess it just depends. A lot of people say, oh, that's convenience. I want the convenient. But then there's definitely the other side of it. People saying, I just don't feel comfortable with this. You got the Facebook Exchange. That's Facebook letting advertisers target their ads on Facebook to someone like me. This actually just happened to me the other day. I'm looking on the site for a pair of shoes. Yeah, I click on something. It's sort of in my checkout, cart, and then I just bailed out and I forgot about it. Same ad showed up on Facebook within the hour. I'm like, those were the exact same shoes. Gosh, they're good. So that's the Facebook Exchange. So it's just reminding me, you were really close. You should really buy that. You love that dress.
Don't forget the shoes.
Or you really wanted that trip to Hawaii. And then, of course, there's sponsored results, and that's businesses paying to have their page or their app or some other Facebook property appear above organic results. So if I'm searching for Mafia Wars, for example, another company can say, I want my stuff to be hovering up at the top.
That's like
we're all
AdSense
very used to
kind of
that.
stuff.
Yeah, it's something that we're used to as far as searching in Google, for example. But Facebook isn't a search engine, so it's search engine-like qualities that are gradually being introduced. All of this are features that Facebook is rolling out as they go forward in mobile. So it does remain to be seen how effective they will all be, but collectively, Facebook is certainly going on the offensive.
They're trying enough different things that theoretically, if only a couple of them work, or if they all work to a small extent, it should help boost that revenue.
Right.
I think with the whole social nature of Facebook, like I'm staring at the gifts part of this article, and I got some friends with birthdays coming up, and I'm like, what do they like? And I have no idea. I bet Facebook has an idea. And I can go to Amazon and see their wish list. But if you can take that data that they've had for years, like, oh, this person likes these kinds of shoes, they like this kind of candy or whatever, at least then I have some kind of profile for that.
It sounds horrible because, whenever I'm at those sites where they're like, we think you like this, they always get it wrong. So if people start buying me stuff because Facebook thinks I like it,
but
I'm going to end up with all kinds of crazy stuff.
When you get a gift on Facebook, you have the option to exchange for something that you would like better.
All right, that's good to know.
They've really thought about it, because they know that you want something that is awesome, so that then you say Facebook gifts works. I'm going to use it.
Well, that and the search function is a big deal because some people use Facebook like the internet. When Facebook is down, internet's down. They used Facebook search for everything. So, like, if Facebook can keep making money with the sponsored links, like, I think the example for Mafia Wars that the Avengers show up or something. One of a Marvel property shows up when you search for it, which is not exactly, I don't think, related. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Well, but maybe it's just a popular search term, too. So they just know that they're going to be seen that much more.
Yeah, exactly. You don't always buy to counterposition. You sometimes buy for awareness. Like, I know a lot of people are searching for that, so we want to make sure they know about my message, even though it's not related to Mafia.
And that's going to make Facebook a ton of money. Like, that's the thing. They're not thought of as, like, a Google. They have to give you the results certain ways. Like, this is Facebook. They can do whatever they want.
There's something more, just one more thing to consider. 1.2 billion shares are going to open up next month. November 16th is when a big part, in fact, of the company's stock lockup expires for employees. So
flooding the market.
Yeah, and that tends to make a stock price dip. But again, it should be temporary. So yeah,
Facebook has dipped so much already.
Yeah, exactly. It opened at $38 on IPO day, and it's really not come up over $20 in the last month or so. So again, interesting to see what the earnings reports
it's
says
at 1960
today.
right this second. I'm sure it'll be different by the time you listen, but
yeah.
Definitely interesting.
So that's Facebook.
All right. Bandwidth, mobile bandwidth particularly. You probably hear a lot about the spectrum crunch. We're not going to be able to get enough mobile bandwidth. What's the solution? How do you avoid the crunch? Some people suggest more base stations. We need more approvals from municipalities to allow us to put base stations up. Stop saying they're ugly or they're going to give us like strange allergic reactions. Let us put up more base stations. So you definitely hear the carriers saying more spectrum. We need to have more spectrum allowed. Come on, FCC. Some people even say more wattage. But you know what the solution is, guys? You know what the solution is? Huh?
Fairies.
No, it's not fairies.
Darn.
Algebra.
That's even better. Math fairies.
You like algebra. Math fairies. New approach from an MIT Caltech startup called Code On Technologies is called Coded TCP. Muriel Medard, professor at MIT's Research Laboratory of Electronics, led development across a bunch of teams from MIT, the University of Porto in Portugal, Harvard, Caltech, the Technical University of Munich. They found that typical mobile packet loss in Boston is 3%. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but the problem is when a packet gets lost, it causes delays in the receival of the entire piece of data. It generates more traffic as you try to correct for that error and get the packet again, compounding the problem because there's 3% packet loss on the packets trying to replace themselves. So it can be a real bad problem. Their solution sends algebraic equations that describe a series of packets, and if a packet goes missing, the mobile device will solve for the missing packets data rather than asking for a resend. Remember, all these packets, they're not actual pictures of people for the video. You know, they're not actually like written words. They're just numbers. They're just data. So, for instance, this is a total oversimplification, but if you send with the packets, if you send the equation x plus y plus z equals 25, right? And you get packet y, or packet x is 12, and you get packet y, it's 8, but the z packet drops. Well, you just add 12 and 8. You get 20. You know it's supposed to add up to 25. Boom, you've solved the equation. Z is 5. You don't have to go ask for Z again. The device can do a very simple linear equation like that on its own without having to flood the network. Medard's group set up proxy servers in the Amazon cloud. IP traffic was sent to Amazon, encoded and decoded as an application. And with testing on the MIT Wi-Fi, where the packet loss was only 2%, they boosted speeds from 1 megabit per second to 16 megabits per second. Now, that's in a lab, granted. They did do another field test on a train, on the Acela train, found 5% packet loss would go from 0.5 megabits per second to 13.5 megabits per second. They still need to do full-scale deployment of this, right? So they don't know how it's going to work in the real world. Even if it doesn't work nearly as well as it has in the lab, if it only works a third as well, that's a huge gain.
Yeah, I was just staring at those numbers. Like, I have like one router in one area. I have to have a client bridge to the other. It's like 15 feet away because there's enough interference and loss from that space that something like this could change everything with just simply, it's like a firmware upgrade, really. For some of these devices, you don't need to have new hardware at all. This is just simply changing the way that these packets are interpreted. And I was wanted to see, is this going to change? Is this going to make everything run slower? Is my battery going to die? And one of the researchers said that since the equations are simple and linear, the processing load is negligible. So that means we'll get faster speeds, and our battery isn't being eaten up on our phones or tablets or whatever. It seems so simple. Why wasn't this thought of before? But this is brilliant. I hope. Well,
it's probably a lot harder to actually implement than to think of. I'm sure they're not the first people to think of the general idea, but they've made it work.
I'm very curious about what the security concerns are with this kind of thing. But if this can speed up Wi-Fi, I would be very happy with that.
All right, let's finish up with the Federal Trade Commission getting into guidance for facial recognition.
Yeah, best practices.
How does this work?
Sarah mentioned this. These are the guidelines. So these aren't like laws or rules or regulations. These are just, hey, guys, if you want to do facial recognition, you might want to do this. Design the services with consumer privacy in mind. Develop reasonable security protections for the information they collect. And consider the sensitivity information. So if you're taking pictures of people near like a bathroom, maybe you want to cover up their face. There's also supposed to be an option, an easy-to-use choice not to have their biometric data collected and used for facial recognition, and the ability to turn the feature off at any time. So after hearing all these guidelines, I guess I'm just curious, do you think these guidelines go far enough? Is there something that should be added? If Facebook did all of these things, or if Google did this with Google+, would people not freak out as much about, oh my gosh, my face is being collected?
No, they will still freak out because it's not about what the actual implications are. It's the fact that it's being done. I guess maybe this helps reduce the freak out factor a little bit. But my feeling on this stuff is that it's not generally a rational reaction to what's being done anyway. It's a, what? You took my face. You stole my soul. Stop stealing my face. That's a little bit of an irrational reaction anyway.
I mean, I like this idea of giving the consumer an easy-to-use choice not to have their data collected. Like, is there going to be just one giant checkbox in the future?
Well, no, but that's the FTC has experience in that. I mean, opt out, right? I mean, they've created that sort of thing for telecommunications and other things, do not call lists, et cetera.
Yeah, and there's always some weird workaround. That's the thing about these guidelines. I mean, they're not going to...
Well, but which is worse? A do not call list that doesn't work perfectly, or no do not call list at all?
I think you got me there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. FTC isn't coming out saying, I promise that this will perfectly stop facial recognition, but they're saying, you know what, make it easy. Don't make it hard. And I think that's fair.
It's also a reflection of the fact that this technology is really getting to the point where people actually do have to think about this. The FTC has come up with guidelines. That means this is happening in a lot of situations that apparently are making people feel uncomfortable. So hopefully some people will, I don't know, Facebook, maybe you will have this nice little opt-out button that I can find easily instead of it being like 6 or 7 units deep into some kind of navigation tree. That's what I want for easy to use.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our final sponsor for today's show, Gazelle.com. If you got some gadgets you want to get rid of and you got some gadgets you want to buy, this is the perfect match for you. A simple and easy way to make some cash off your old gadgets. And you don't have to get rid of the gadgets before you buy the new gadgets. Let's say you're looking to replace your phone. You go to Gazelle.com. You say, I've got an old iPhone. I'm going to get rid of this iPhone. So you click on the model of iPhone that you got. They actually have pictures. They make it dead simple. You don't have to do any thinking. You pick the picture of the phone you have, the carrier you have. You say, give me an offer. This is risk-free, by the way. You're not under like some kind of locking. They're not going to come to your house saying, you promised you'd give us your Apple iPhone 4S. Where are you? No, it's a risk-free offer that's locked in for 30 days. So once you get that offer from Gazelle for the cash, you've got 30 days to actually get them the phone, and they'll pay for the shipping. You don't have to worry about getting it to them right away. You can go buy the new phone, transfer all your contacts, get that up and running, then send them the old phone. And you want to lock it in now because gadgets probably aren't going to get more valuable over time. Once they get the phone, they'll open it up, they'll look at it, they'll confirm the condition. They'll actually confirm the condition both ways. If it's better condition than you said, they'll give you more money. And then they'll pay you quickly by PayPal or by check. I've used it a bunch of times this summer. I used it when I went from the iPhone 4 to the iPhone 5. So I can say it absolutely works. They pay you fast once they get the machine in their hands. And sometimes they'll even send you a box. So try it out. Go to Gazelle.com. And lock in your offer today. And if they ask you, like, hey, where'd you hear about this? You could say podcast, Tech News Today. Gives them a little feedback, lets them know where you heard about it. Gazelle.com, we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Well, I believe we have an event on the calendar that has been checked off today, the Apple announcement. Is there anything else coming up?
Yes, there is, Tom. Zynga and AT&T are both announcing their earnings tomorrow, October 24th. Who's excited?
Earnings A to Z.
Actually, Zynga just announced their new ad network, so we're probably going to hear a lot more about that by tomorrow, too.
Names.
Sony.
Names.
What's that spell? Sony has teased a 4K, not Ultra HD, by the way, 4K.
Yes, Sony's not playing that game.
High frame rate F-Series Pro camcorder in an October 30th event. We'll know more then, but the last F model was about $16,000, so this is probably going to be a pretty pricey item, but a nice one. And finally, AT&T's Galaxy Note 2 is arriving on November 9th for $299.99, so $300.
All right, let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got an email. Actually, got a bunch of emails, but got one in particular from Michael in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I've been through Murfreesboro before. He says, while listening to yesterday's discussion about possible new features for Android, I thought of the biggest benefit for multiple logins. Devices for education. As a high school teacher, I've looked into trying to get several tech devices for my classroom. Every mobile device I look into has the same problem. With the exception of computers or laptops, there's not a good way for me to buy one class, a set of 25, 30 devices that all of my classes can use. If student A uses an iPad in class 1, they have to log out of every app they use before student B uses that device. This takes up class time, logging in and out of multiple apps, and if a student forgets to log out of an app, their content's now available to somebody else. A device had multiple account logins, then a student could choose any device from the class set, log in, have their individual content there, and then log out when they're done. I think it would be a big step in getting Google and Android hardware into education, where currently Apple has a huge market share. Actually, that'd be good for the for iOS too, if they could do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a perfect world, Apple would say, well, every student will just have their own, so they don't have to share, and we sell a lot more units.
More money.
But yeah, that's not always feasible, and I know that the education system is really hurting in certain places. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We got another email from Josh who says, I was watching you guys discuss what Mark Zuckerberg said about sharing more of the future, and it left me wondering, was he talking about information or data? I personally think that people are sharing way too much information. I don't really care what somebody had for dinner, but people have just begun sharing data. For example, the scale that tweets your weight. I think in Mark Zuckerberg's mind, the future will have devices all over the house posting to Facebook, letting everybody know that we need cereal, or we saved 500 watts of electricity this month, or we just jogged 2 miles on the treadmill. Oh, Josh, make that not the case. I hope that's not what our future looks like. I mean, we already have devices to do this.
Yeah, with like the fuel band posting to Path or whatever, Facebook, it has the ability to do this. If you're in an area where you have Wi-Fi, you can just constantly post data. I don't know what else you could add.
That stuff never works, though, really. I mean, I find... I mean, it works. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not really interested. I find it all sort of compounded noise.
I forget that I use the Nike Plus app when I run, and I have it set up to post to Path.
Yeah, and I know where you run and how long you ran.
Only thing I post to Path.
Every
Well, that's how we know
day.
you're alive.
Yeah.
Because you've been running.
But here's the thing. When I first started doing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to try this and see how it goes. And I was like, oh, I don't really like doing this because now people know if I skip a run or if I change my day. And now I've totally gotten used to it, and I don't care anymore. Like that fear, that worry just goes away. It's like, oh, so what if people know whether I ran or not? Like, nobody really cares. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody comes in and is like, I noticed you didn't run yesterday, lazy bones. What's wrong with you? So I think we'll go through that process with a lot of this sort of stuff where we're sharing things at first that we, who've grown up without Facebook for most of our lives, say, I don't know if I want people to really know that. And folks who have grown up with Facebook all their lives say, well, what's the big deal? And we sort of take a little while, but we get used to it as well. I think he's right, though, that data is the more valuable thing here than just the like, hey, I had something for supper. Here's a picture of the ham that I ate. It was made of soy because I'm a vegetarian.
That's gross. Soy ham. I did not need that at 9:41 a.m.
Textured soy protein. Just by way of explanation, I mentioned I lost a bet. I'm wearing a San Francisco Giants hat for audio listeners because I lost a bet with Ryan Block of Gadget. He was going to wear a St. Louis Cardinals hat for a week if the Cardinals had won. So it's all about baseball. Thank you. That's good.
World Series, World Series, World Series.
That's it for this episode of Tech News Today. Thanks to those who submitted stories on our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. It helps us figure out what stories we want to cover each and every day. Appreciate the folks who submit and vote in there. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us, tnt@twit.tv, or you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Jeff Bakalar from CNET's The 404 joins us tomorrow. We'll see you then.